Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
The Daily Compliance News for February 18, 2024, the Huge Mistake Edition. We'll begin with that story from the Financial Times, which reports that Charlie Javice will begin trial on fraud charges, largely brought by JPMorgan, but of course brought by the Department of Justice, for her sale of her business Frank to JPMorgan. The defense claims that Morgan's alleged close relationship with prosecutors will be a key focus of the defense strategy. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for the DOJ as they accuse JPMorgan of exerting enormous power over prosecutors. This basically was a deal that should never have been done, but went forward due to faulty due diligence of JPMorgan. YaHooFinance reports that Wells Fargo's 2018 compliance consent order has been terminated by the OCC because, guess what? Wells Fargo complied with it. They've put all of the compliance programs in place. They've had their restrictions on growth released, and Wells Fargo has made great progress in fixing their compliance problems. Next up, the administrative judges have claimed that potential disclosure of their personal information to DOGE will threaten their safety. The Association of Administrative Law Judge, a union that represents some 910 ALJs, filed suit saying that if DOGE gets their personal information, it could well use that against them. And given what DOGE has released to the public, it's certainly well within the realm of possibility that the DOGE committee would do this. They don't seem to be too concerned about the health and safety of those they are allegedly investigating. And finally, although this was written for the CFO, an article in Bloomberg, when your tariff game theory blows up your business plan, I would ask the compliance professionals listening to this podcast to check this out, because this is something that I've been talking about literally since January 20, when the Trump administration came into play, that you're going to have to deal with a wide variety of chaos and changes literally on a day-to-day basis, including tariffs. How is that going to impact you going forward? How is that going to impact what you are doing, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and where you're doing it? Compliance is going to be just as important in this discussion as is the CFO. So you need to have a risk management framework which will allow you to respond to changes in tariffs literally on the day-by-day basis of the Trump administration, so that you can do business profitably going forward. At the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up, or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.